Hi everybody and welcome to Talking Teal, Season 6, Episode 9. I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And we're Lady Parts TV. Thank you for joining us for another week of Talking Wentworth. This episode is dedicated to Jen. And I think she's the final person we're dedicating episodes to. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jen. You're the best. Well, you're the best
one
among
of,
many
one
great
of the
bests.
best.
Yes.
Thank you, Jen. And again, one last time, thank you to everybody who contributed and made this possible. So
we literally wouldn't be here without
you.
I'd be in bed.
So it's a love-hate relationship, really, for Mimi. Shallow Grave, written by John Ridley, directed by Fiona Banks. And this is episode 9, which means we're 2/3 into the show. We have 3 episodes to go, which means it's time to talk a little bit about some problems. Because when you have 3 more episodes to go,
things need to be winding up.
And there isn't much left. There isn't a lot of time left to do some things.
And we have a lot of things hanging. There are a lot of threads that need to be pulled into the tapestry to finish the picture.
That, and also there was, we'll talk about it more in depth in a minute, but the show started off really strongly, going in one direction.
Fantastic.
And now it feels like it's going a little bit in,
backwards.
Off rail. So let's start with the major problem, though, because everybody's talking about it, and it's Ruby and Allie. And it's a twofold problem as far as I can tell. First of all, cringe.
Scream at the TV. No!
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally. I've never wanted... I usually really relish every time my lesbians tell each other that they're horny. But not in this case. In this case, seeing them in bed together felt a little bit like, oh, my TMI people. No, I don't need to see
already
that.
For the second time. We've already seen them in bed, and it was too much the first time. It certainly is not any less too much the second time.
Right. Now, Jen kind of describes it very well. So,
Jen, you were in my mind. I just want to say,
I think she was in a lot.
I agree with you 100%. I did many of the same things you did, especially the screamings and the cringing.
Yeah.
So, Jen, Allie and Ruby at the fence. Yuck! I think this was the most forced their flirtations have felt thus far. I legitimately cringed. Not even Jenko can sell lines like, I'm really horny. They have no romantic chemistry. Period. Allie and Ruby in bed. I have never, and I mean never, actually protested a lesbian sex scene, if you can call it that, out loud. But I actually yelled, no, at my TV. Not even seeing Jenko in a bra could make me enjoy that. I would rather watch all of the cringiest hookups from the L Word back to back than watch that scene again.
Now, just stop you before you go into her other paragraph, because I just want to make sure that you know, all of you, that we don't think that it's the actress's fault.
No.
We love both of them. We just really feel that this is a forced relationship that just, you know how we always say there's either chemistry or there's no chemistry.
You cannot manufacture it.
No, and in this case, I don't know what screen testing they were doing, what kind of chemistry testing they were doing, how they missed it. But it's just really doesn't work. And we've said, when they were bouncing off each other as friends, it was really cute. Yeah. It was really working.
It was a nice friendship.
Not as a romantic couple.
No.
Now, one of the reasons, at least for me, that it doesn't work for me is because of the character of Ruby, who is not very likable. And here is the rest of what Jen said.
I don't like the way Ruby treated Allie when she found those pictures. I don't like the way Ruby treats Allie in general when anything is happening besides them flirting. She doesn't treat Allie the way Allie deserves to be treated, and Allie is such a giving, loving, open person that she gets walked on. I've never forgotten the way Ruby aggressively grabbed her face, and that kind of aggressiveness seems to be a theme. Allie deserves better.
And that is the other thing, that I really feel we love Allie. We've loved her for a long time. She is connected to being in our minds and part of this beautiful, beautiful relationship that, to me, I feel that this relationship is...
It sullies it. It really does. And Allie is the purest, best, kindest, most loving character in Wentworth. next to Liz. But Liz is manipulative in certain ways that Allie...
Liz is manipulative?
In some ways, yeah. She has her little things that she
Liz?
does. Yes.
What does she do?
She figures out things to do to get...
Liz, never think of Liz.
Oh, yes. Liz has her ways.
Okay.
But Allie doesn't. Allie couldn't even push the fucking on Joe.
She's very pure-hearted.
She is pure of heart and soul.
And that's why she easily is being taken advantage of.
Yes. And I think she's smarter than that. I think that Bee's death gave her a little bit more of a backbone and a certain strength and purpose that... the other thing, however, let me just say this, is that I think that she really cares for Ruby as a person, and I think some of this has to do with her keeping her from fighting.
And this is what Lauren said that I think is very important also, is that, I'll just read it to you exactly as she said it, which is I think is the other problem. We know nothing really of Allie's journey or thoughts toward liking Ruby. Would have been good to know some of this. Maybe it would bring us more on board with this relationship. And that's the other thing, is that we don't know why she's doing it. We don't know her motives. And I'll get to what the problem with that is in a second. But I just want to say Diana pointed out to us, because we don't really go on social media. We don't look at these things. And she showed us, she told me that the other kind of problematic thing is, you know how we say that the writers have been kind of duplicating what happened with B, and that is disrespectful to the fans or to the memory of the relationship or to the memory of B. And apparently, and again, this is not firsthand, I did not witness it myself, but apparently Jenko and Roddy have been on social media kind of championing the relationship, which is fine.
Well,
I mean, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. But also, Roddy has been kind of doing puns on B, like Ruby's got moves, you better believe it, things like that. And I understand them wanting to champion the relationship.
And needing to. I'm sure that they were told to, because I'm sure they're getting so much pushback. There's a lot of hate,
yes.
Yeah.
But I think this to me is the same thing as doing, mimicking the B's scenes, the ballet scenes. Why would you do puns on B to even further like rub it in the fans' faces? And she said, apparently, again, this is all hearsay, that she...
Not admissible in court.
that Roddy and Danielle are friends in real life and they like to do puns, but I still think it's a little pushing it with the fans, so it's probably flaming the flame, fanning the flame. I don't blame them. I actually feel sorry that they are in, that they're doing what they're doing. That's their job, and that there's so much reaction from the fans. And by the way, Shannon asked if we can interview the writers and ask them why did they decide to put them together.
We're hoping, we're trying.
We're hoping, yes.
The problem, of course, is with something like this, is that by the time they realize that the fans hate this, it's not working.
They do test them together before that.
But here's the way I feel about tests is the tests, they see the test they want to see oftentimes, unless it's someone that's a nobody.
Right.
If they want... I know that it goes this way in casting and certain things. And if there's something you really want, there's someone you really want, you do a test, you see it the way you want to see it. Or you say, oh, it will develop, they're really, they play well together. And they do, as friends. But unfortunately, by the time it was so obvious that this was a ginormous mistake, it was a done deal. Yeah. It was, a fait accompli, and there was nothing to do about it. It's playing out the way it's playing out.
And I just want to say that the reaction, because we have brains and we understand all of that, but the reaction is such a gut reaction that it has nothing to do with any kind of rationale or any kind of reasoning. It's just a gut reaction. It's actually pretty amazing. It's a true it's a real example of how chemistry is so important.
Yes.
You can't, because it really creates a reaction inside you, and especially when it's characters you really care about. Now the other problem here, and that has to do with what we're saying, that we don't know Allie's reasoning, her thoughts. Guess what? We don't know anything about Allie this season. She's been a hollow character, and that is the other thing that pisses me off, that Allie is again reduced to being, first of all, plot device. Yes, well, no, she's not
Plot
even,
fodder.
She's kind of a pawn
No, she's,
that
yes,
is
cannon
getting
fodder.
used in this big thing between Mari and now we find out that the real big story is Mari versus Ruby because Ruby apparently killed her son in the most contrived story ever told. But forget about that for a second because I'll get back to it.
We certainly will.
So that is the other problem. Now, Lauren has to say something about that.
I really feel the writers had so much scope to broaden Boomer and Allie.
Yes, this is also about Boomer, but it's mostly about Allie.
Yeah. And for some reason, they have not done that. I thought they were broadening Boomer, but this episode she's practically back to being a nobody. And Allie, for all that we were hoping for more for her, now she is Mari's toy to be manipulated and Ruby's girlfriend. She and Boomer seem to be nothing if they're not connected to another character's plot, and I find that frustrating to say the least. I feel that the show was more at its peak when the stories were character-driven, an absolute
and that
rule of dramatic storytelling.
We'll go back to that.
But it feels very plot-driven once again at the moment, and it is totally, utterly plot-driven.
Now, character versus plot, we'll get to in a minute because that's the other big problem, and we have a lot to say about that. But just for a minute, and we'll talk about
changed the course of my life,
and we'll talk about Boomer a little bit later. But I really feel that we've been saying it season after season, but it's offensive to me what they're doing to the character of Allie. It's hard for me to get past it. I don't think I should get past it.
No, they made us love Allie, and then they have done nothing but abuse her since the show started.
Waste her.
When I say abuse her, I mean abuse her by wasting her.
Because to me, if we, I understand you're saying that she's wasted by being abused, but I'm saying that to me, if she had been, if the storyline had been angsty, but at least we would have seen character development, we would have seen into her thoughts, her experiences. We don't. She is extremely two-dimensional.
She's like Sandy in Grease.
How did you get to that?
No, because I think of all that blonde hair and singing and
singing, rapping. No, but that's true. That's the other thing. We had with B, she showed so much personality. She had talk about chemistry.
So
oh my god.
Oh my god.
She had so much to so many places she could have gone to, and then to just completely, you wasted her in season 5. Now you're wasting her again. It's a crime. Now, just to wrap up this Allie discussion, Sarah says, and I agree, I really need Allie pulled toward Mary. Not that that is going to be good for her. Mary will undoubtedly hurt her, but it will be much better story pushing Allie to grow as a character. They have a gold mine in Allie and Mary, and they aren't taking advantage of it yet. And that's the other thing. When Mari came in, and you were all upset that we were so excited, but we told you that we were excited because of the potential of the story, both for Allie and for these two very wonderful actresses.
And they do have chemistry.
Excellent.
Whether you like it or not, they've got chemistry.
But
they have a past.
And this is why I said that this is the time to talk about it, because at episode 9, I would have expected it to have gone somewhere. With 3 episodes left, I don't know how much more road or path there is to be had in this season. So this is why I feel that it's a good time to discuss these things.
Do we know if Susie Porter is coming back in season 7?
I don't know that there's any official word. I think she's. I have a feeling she's in it.
Okay.
Anyway, to have Susie Porter on for 1 season would be such a waste.
Such a waste.
So the other major problem, we have 3 big ones. This is the second.
We only have 3? I'm amazed.
Well, we have sub-problems inside them, but we have big umbrellas. The other problem is the freak really dead? Now, some of you have written to me, like, Rachel was like, ding dong, the witch is dead, and you're all like, yay, I'm so happy she's finally dead. But guess what? We're not all that sure. Now,
we should be.
And this is the main problem.
We should be sure.
This is the main problem, that we've been toyed with so much about this, that the fact that even now when we've seen a body in a grave, we're not sure about it, says a lot about what the show has been doing to us. But I really think a lot of us have noticed the fact that the body, I don't know what we can expect. I don't know how decomposed she would have been. I don't know what she's supposed to look like, but it didn't really look like Joan.
The body would not have looked like.
It didn't even look
like
remotely
Joan.
like Joan.
It looked like a withered,
I disagree.
decomposing corpse.
Personally,
No.
I think we were meant to look at it and say, hey, I don't think that's Joan. Now, who is it? A lot of people are guessing. I've heard guesses like that it's Debbie, Bee's daughter. I don't think so at this point.
She's going to go dig up.
No.
Claw her way out. Dig up Debbie.
Well, I don't know.
Bring her to...
I wouldn't put anything past Joan.
Please. It's not Joan. It's the writers. Joan could not... Even Joan could not
But
do
the
those
writers
things.
have been making Joan, kind of superhuman.
She is not
and super crazy.
a supernatural, superhuman.
Anyway, Debbie would have been too far decomposed by now.
She would have been mush.
We also heard people say that it was B, that it looked like Maxine. D even says it looks like Frankie. I don't think it's Frankie.
Frankie!
But I honestly have to tell you, I don't share your feeling of, yay, she's dead. I don't share that feeling yet.
No, because they don't let us enjoy
it should have been pretty.
Should have been definitive. And to me,
maybe they meant it to be definitive. I don't know.
I would, if it weren't for the fact that I know that we've been toyed with many times before, I would have said it's definitive.
And that's the
thing. Shannon,
please.
Nails it, so to speak.
Nails it.
She nails it in a way that I agree completely. And I thought about all of these things as we were going. I was like, no, this is impossible. So Shannon says, yes, I'm thank you, hair director. With the depth of the hole that Will dug a second time, and it looked deeper than the first hole, I'm skeptical that even Ferguson could have dug her way out, especially since the hole in the top of the box would have been bigger. I can't see her taking the time to get another box with a hole in it small enough to see through but not squeeze through once she had made it out. But who knows? Is that it?
Yes.
Yes. But who knows? The
but
writers do.
I did think that the hole didn't look big enough, that's for sure. And it showed that she tried, but...
No, but we know that something came through the hole.
We know that she tried, and
Of course, who wouldn't try?
No,
you're buried alive.
We saw that she managed to make some, but at that point, anyway, she would have had to dig up through so much dirt that would have suffocated her by then, I would have thought. But anyway, now Marcy, or is it Marcy? Just let me know. I don't know if she zoomed into the picture or whatever, but she asked what's with the scissors and the lighter. I don't know if it's supposed to be anything more than that, but I do know that when they prepared their escape, Frankie and Allie did put in some tools for themselves, right, to use.
A lighter so that they could see, although I think a flashlight would have been a little bit smarter.
Maybe they didn't have access to it.
This is modern day. Yeah, true.
I mean, they had to do with what they had. So I think that's what it is. I don't know if there's anything more to it. If it is there, I didn't see it, but I didn't zoom in on the picture.
Anyway, a scissors and a lighter. What? Unless she burns. I
don't know. Now, tell us what Jen had to say.
Jen, I don't 100% believe that was Joan's body in the coffin. It's anticlimactic after they've been teasing her possible return with Vera's stalker and the glove ship, and I can't see them going the anticlimactic route. I personally don't find it anticlimactic. I find it satisfying. However, plus, there was obviously a hole in the top of the coffin. But then again, if she was actually able to crawl her way out of there, please, would she have really taken the time to put a body back? I don't know. And I honestly don't even want to speculate who's behind the gloves on Vera's pillow, because I don't trust that the reveal isn't going to be complete bullshit. Thank you, Jen.
Yes, we're gonna talk more about the stalker in a minute.
I miss the good old days when the mysteries were so complex and clever and surprising that trying to figure them out every week was exciting. This just feels tired and like they're fumbling for ideas.
Well, again, if the body is there, then that's fine. If it is Joan, if it's fine. I'm saying that the fact that we are still not sure is because we've been played with so much.
That's because, yes, we don't have faith in the writers to give us. Yep. And I was getting my faith back.
Yeah.
I was. But this season is so brilliant. I was saying they're giving us what we want now instead of just what they want.
It's back to the good old days. They've reset it with new characters. But yeah, we have a few more problems.
But then came Joan.
Well, then came Joan, and then came Ruby and Danny. But before that,
you have to set new stakes. You have to have new characters, but
but the
they
fact
have
that
to make
Ruby
sense.
killed
Yes.
Danny. That's what I'm saying, not Ruby and Joan.
When I say the line of all the gin joints in all the world, and all the towns, you had to walk into mine. That's Casablanca. What he says to Ilsa, and it's like, there's a whole world out there. How did you show up here?
Yeah.
So that's the same way I feel about Ruby and Danny.
Rachel also says they did make one little error in the reveal. Bee's picture would have been right where Will pulled back the wood from the box. So I'm wondering if that's a clue that she did go out and took the picture with her.
Well, I think it would make perfect sense that when she was clawing her way out, she tore the photo.
Maybe. I guess so.
She's not going to be careful and
I
claw
don't
around it. I don't
want
want to hurt
Bee's
Bee's picture. She would have gone,
As for Joan's ghost, some of you are thinking that the use of Joan's ghost actually was very effective in bringing her back, but not really bringing her back.
I felt that way.
I didn't, but let's hear from the people who did first.
I did. It made me feel that maybe this was going to be sufficient for them to have Pamela back in this way without having to have Joan back alive. And anyway, Sarah says, I have to say Ferguson's ghost has been very effective this year. It's been 2 years since I've enjoyed that character. I'm just now feeling okay watching her again. I think it helps that she's in uniform, which represents when I actually did enjoy the character, ditto. I think we can all agree Prisoner Joan was too much, but Governor Ferguson was just right.
No,
that's a good point.
What does Rachel have to say?
Rachel says, I did love the scene where Will finally confronted Joan's ghost. The transition from governor to inmate created a visual track of Joan's fading power over Will as he finally finds the guts to cast her off. I knew right then Joan would be in that box, if only.
Now, my personal feelings about this, and I, from a perspective of casting and storytelling or whatever, yes, it was effective. To me personally, it was cringeworthy because every time I saw her and she spoke the exact same way that she spoke in season 5, to me it wasn't a return to the character that I loved. It was a return to the caricature. That I was so upset about losing the character that I actually really, really loved and enjoyed watching. So to me, her
she
return,
was subtle. She was blatant.
And the ghost was not subtle. The ghost did the same tricks that she did in season 5 when I couldn't stand her. But the mind games and the way she talks like that. And I love Pamela. So to me, that was always a kind of a reduction. It was a reduction of her character, a reduction of her what she could do as an actress. And so to me, that was actually just further cementing why I didn't.
I rather liked it though. I rather thought, and also to me, I kept hoping. This is how they brought her back. We don't need to have her be alive. They've made good use of her. She's been around quite a bit.
Well, we'll see.
She'll get her insurance.
Bridget, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, said that whatever happens, she thinks that Ryan Murphy should put her in his American Horror Story.
Absolutely. That is brilliant casting.
The Australian version.
And God knows they don't have any trouble getting Aussies to be able to be in American shows. They're all over the place. While American actors starve.
So we'll talk more about the body and all of that stuff. But first, we have to talk about the one last major problem. So the one last major problem that we have that is multiple problems inside it, but that we seem to be veering off into plot-driven storytelling again. The season started very strongly with new characters whom we personally were really excited about, really looking forward to finding out more about them. And it's already almost the end of the season. And if you take, for example, Rita, we barely know anything more about her now than we did in episode 2 or 3.
I kind of disagree, but okay.
We haven't seen her have, besides, again, being part of Mari's, besides being an undercover cop or a sister or a bodyguard, I haven't seen anything personal. I haven't seen any new stuff about Rita herself. I feel that she hasn't been explored as a character at all.
I don't totally agree, but okay.
Okay.
Remember, there's only just so much time for so many characters, but anyway.
Well, yes, but here's the you know what? I'm going to say it now, even though it belongs to later. That talk between Vera and Will, when he blames himself for saving her from the fire, she blames herself for not letting her hang. That conversation was so beautiful.
I loved it.
And that's what we need more of. We don't need more, mysteries going around and trying to blow our mind with how will they come up with something else. We need more people with people
talking about people things.
Talking about people, showing emotions, showing depth, showing something, not constantly on the move to get to go to the next.
Well, maybe they haven't fully created the backstory. Maybe they're
it's not even about backstory.
Maybe they're only.
But it's not even just about
using
backstory.
Their backstory to further.
But it's not even just about backstory. I don't care necessarily about Rita's backstory so much as I care about
character connection.
Yes, and about how her backstory is maybe manifesting itself and its ramifications on her now. I'm not saying any of that. It's constantly about her serving the plot rather than me finding out more about her or having more meaningful conversations or substantial feelings, emotions, something. It's all about mysteries and how they're gonna intrigue of how this is one is gonna pull one over the other. I'm missing more of the real humanity. Yes,
contact.
Ruby killing Danny. No matter what they're gonna do next, the whole thing is premised on an insanely ridiculous idea. Yes. So that already deflates the storyline.
Constructed as a plot device.
Yeah. It deflates to me the entire intrigue and entire investment in that story when the foundation of it is so shaky. The other problem...
What might have made it work for me, although it's still, of all the towns in all the world, blah, 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 is if Ruby didn't remember having killed Danny. And somehow or other...
That would have been interesting.
Yes. Rita found out. Mm-hmm. And that would have given a whole nother level to her protectiveness. And that, to me, would have been interesting. It still would have been...
Insane.
Really? Yeah. Of all the people. But I think that would have been a more interesting approach to Ruby having killed Danny.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, definitely. The other problem is that the main triangle is based the triangle of Mari, Ruby, and Allie, which we now are finding out again. Which I did until we uncovered the fact that Ruby killed Danny. Then it was just a love triangle. Now we're finding out that it's the main mystery, not really mystery, but the problematic storyline, and it's premised on a relationship that we can barely stand looking at, let alone care about. Ruby and Allie. So that's a problem. And they're doing all of this. Rita, Mari, Allie, everybody is the center of this all of these characters is Ruby, who is a character we don't like. I mean, there are times when I like her, when she's with Boomer,
and when she's sweet, or else when she's fighting and tough, but she's not very
mostly she's
interesting or nice character.
No, she's not.
You don't have to be nice to be loved, but she's actively offensive, I find. Yeah,
there's something abrasive about her. There's something. So, I mean, and again, has nothing to do with the actress. I'm talking about the character. I'm talking about the character itself. So, herself. So, all of those are very problematic. Plus, you've raised a couple of your own issues. Let me start with something Lauren said, and then you'll go to something Lauren said. So, why are the cops only now onto the $90,000 payment to Turk the day before Jesper's murder? Surely after Jesper died, the police would have been looking into the only person to gain from his demise? Seems ultra convenient that this tidbit of information has made it to Vera's ears right in time for this episode. So all these little things. Now,
first of all, don't call me Shirley.
I said, oh, she called you Shirley. I didn't call you Shirley. Yes.
Okay, so Lauren says, let's look at the story of Cherry. She is set up as the rat. Yes, she has old connections with Mari, but how could she be the rat? She hates Mari and has been nowhere near any of Mari's conversations with Drago. She wasn't near the phone. Surely Mari is not that stupid. Somehow we are supposed to believe that Cherry has been feeding information to the police about Mari, when all we know of her is that she was one of Mari's working girls. Although she did, let her have her face cut up, right?
It's not that she let her, it's that she did. She threw her out afterwards.
Afterwards, right. So she does have an axe to grind.
Yes, but what she's saying is she really hasn't had. Maybe she has the motive, but not really the opportunity.
The means, right? Yeah. So of course, Drago brutally kills Cherry. I think once again to bring more drama into the show. Poor Cherry. A short-lived stint on Wentworth. Can I also say another woman is dead in the prison? How on earth is Vera holding on to her job? That is 3 deaths, plus 2 escapees and a tongue cut out of an inmate, all on Vera's watch. No other governor has gotten away with this. The department would have been on her in the past. What's going on? Does the board no longer care for the women in Wentworth? I would expect Vera's head to roll and a new governor placed in the prison. Also, how does someone like Drago not check... I don't get
No one else is there in the showers.
Oh, yes, okay. How does someone like Drago not check that no one else is there in the showers? So vicious and awful the way she killed Cherry. Evil, brutal. Another episode, another death. Surely Wentworth can do something other than constantly have shocking deaths. I mean, it's not even that impact-worthy anymore, besides being gruesome and horrible to watch a woman die like that. I basically don't want to get attached to characters anymore because of the whole anyone can die at any time.
Yeah, I also feel that death has been overutilized in Wentworth.
The only place for me that has ever worked is Walking Dead, because after all, we are living in a post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse, and people can die at any time from almost anything.
The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones are the ones that kind of set the tone on that, and now all shows think that in order to really show that they're edgy, that they can kill characters, even favorite characters, whenever they want.
Your universe has to make the universe that your story is set in has to make this a probability more than a possibility, and in both zombie apocalypse and the kind of world of war and violence that is set up in Game of Thrones.
Anyway,
that is its milieu.
Anyway, there's only
death at any moment.
There is only so much beating the audience will take before they're like, enough with this. I either have to develop a defense mechanism and not get attached to people, or get very angry that this is happening. Mm-hmm. Plus, as you said, there should be real consequences to real people like Vera for so much happening. Absolutely, it just feels like kind of a crazy show. This is happening all over the place, and whenever something happened, okay, let's just kill a person.
I mean, we love Vera, and I don't want Vera to lose her job, but Vera has been a pretty shitty governor, let's face it.
I think it's the other way around. I think instead of worrying about Vera losing her job, I think that she should just not kill so many people for everything.
Well, but if you are... there's Vera.
I know, but the killing is also a problem.
Of course. Although it is prison, and prison is violent, and maybe...
Yes, prison is violent, but women's prisons are not as violent, and certainly I don't think that people just constantly being murdered in prison would have been something that we should just accept as a reality. And I also thought about why didn't she check to see that nobody else was in the shower, by the way.
No, because they didn't want her to have to kill Liz.
Yes.
That's why.
Also, regarding Mary, by the way, Dee's saying, and I totally agree, Mary is strangely gullible when Rita is concerned. Don't see Mary as being someone so easily played. I agree. The one caveat is that she, and they kind of drove that point home, Rita was supposedly charged for, with extra sentence for beating Costa for Mari, so she's grateful to her. So she has reasons to kind of feel that she trusts her, but I agree. I think that she's been way too
very forbearing.
Exactly. Now, another problem that Lauren brings up is Liz has deteriorated so quickly. Do people deteriorate that quickly with early onset dementia? I didn't think it would be so rapid. Again, I question this as being plot-driven. The only other way that this would not be way too rapid, I think, to make sense, to me at least, would be if it turns out to be something else.
Yes, and someone will talk about that soon.
Right.
On the other hand, I think that dementia works differently on different people.
Yeah, but it seems so... I mean, I don't know.
Again, when I just tie back to the thing, and there is usually another reason when my father was in the hospital. But then he had
that's
MRSA.
what we're hoping.
Right, and all of a sudden, overnight, my father had dementia, and I went to the nurses, and I said, hey, they said, oh, well, it happens. I said, no. Yesterday, my father was perfect. Today, he's seeing water falling from a clock. He's eating a pastrami sandwich. It's not there. my father does not have dementia. It's something
Right,
else.
so
And
that's
it
the
was.
only thing that we're actually hoping for, and
Yeah.
that would make sense. So we'll wait. We're giving them the benefit of the
Because
doubt.
when
with
it
that.
does come on so rapidly, there's usually something else under it.
So I feel that with all these things, and we haven't even talked about the actual episode yet, with all these things, it's a kind of a precarious place to be in when you only have 3 episodes to go for the season.
Unless you're not going to wrap things up and you're going to carry over.
Even
season
if you
seven,
wrap
as do many shows.
even if you wrap things up, still there are the fact that they're plot driven, the fact that they're they're having a lot of problems right now that I have expected them by episode 9 to have developed more characters, to give Allie more to do, all these things to do a lot more with Allie and Mary.
Yeah, I'm just
Which they
surprised because the season has been so spectacular.
Yeah, it started off
And
very strong.
it was like our old Wentworth. And I'm just surprised that they've allowed it or driven it off the rails to such an extent.
Well,
It's
I guess-
bewildering to me.
Well, you're maybe when you're sitting in your writer's room, things look really, really great, and you don't
On
have
paper.
that. You don't have that perspective. And the thing is, really,
But they
one of
did in the first 6 or 7 episodes.
The thing is really that the season is written and shot before the previous season finished
Right, that's what you
airing.
said.
So, you don't get the responses, you don't have time to really change anything, and by then it's done. And again, the show has started with a bang. We loved every single episode.
Every
It's
minute of it.
It's shakier now, but we're still
Yes,
waiting and hoping
Of course,
that...
we know what the show can be, what the show has been,
Yeah.
what the show has been this season even, through most of it.
Now, the only thing that I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for that they don't jump the shark with is
Joan.
Vera Stalker.
Vera Stalker.
Vera Stalker. Now, let's talk about that. So, first of all, two things that I personally, and maybe there were more, but 2 things that I learned this episode about the Stalker is, A, that the Stalker has to have access to the office, to Vera's office, because the jacket stayed in the office, and that's all of a sudden where she sees the Pips are back.
Yeah, her crown, her shiny crown.
So the person has to have access to the office, and also the person has to know Joan's shoe size, because they said that the boot marks were a match to Ferguson's boots, shoe size.
Maybe it's the uniform maker.
So we'll go to your first theory, but the thing that will lead us up to the first theory is actually, which is Lauren's theory, is actually a question that she asked that is very, very pertinent. I was thinking, though, how stupid were Vera, Will, and Jake going to dig up Ferguson when they knew Vera had a live stalker around? I mean, come on, if someone could get into Vera's house so easily without being caught by police, surely they're tailing Vera to know her whereabouts. I still think it has to be Murphy, although that kind of stalker dedication seems like a little bit too much work for her. It could also be Turk tailing Jake. Well, Will knocked Turk out but didn't kill him. If Turk was after Jake for answers about the cops, he could be tailing Jake himself. So that's one option. Let's see what Sharon says.
Shannon says there's someone else watching their movements and taking pictures and maybe even video. I don't think it's Turk because he would have just killed Jakey at the very least, or even all 3 of them. It's not really his style to sit back and gather evidence against them because he's obviously not going to take it to the cops. He probably would have shot Jake if Will hadn't saved his ass. So I think we can rule Turk out.
Before you go on, about Turk, the cops said that they suspect that he helped Ferguson escape. Now I'm wondering if Turk was there just as a red herring, or if he actually is going to continue to play a role in this. I have no idea.
Well, now that you bring that up, maybe Turk...
Maybe
she let Turk know she was getting out. Maybe Turk followed
and
Will
helped her out.
and helped her out. It's the only way it could have had... This just, after you said that, occurred to me. The only way she could have gotten out of there is with
Help.
assistance.
Because
assistance is required.
Because the only other reason to bring Turk back, if he's not the stalker, would be as a red herring, unless he actually did have a role in this.
Right.
Okay.
That just occurred to me.
Uh-huh.
Okay, unless the writers are going to surprise us with another out-of-the-blue character just for the sake of a plot twist, and I'm really hoping they respect the viewers more than that. The most logical people to be taking photos would be Channing or Officer Murphy. Both definitely have an axe to grind with Vera and would get the most from stalking her. Now, for the sake of entertaining any and all possibilities, if Ferguson were still alive, that's a big if, she'd need help, and Murphy would be a good candidate. Ferguson knew Vera had Murphy sacked and would have approached her with a plan to take Vera down, as well as Will and Jake. Although Jake could still be working with Ferguson on this too. I'm not totally convinced he wasn't helping someone stalk Vera.
So many possibilities. Now Sam is asking, maybe it was somebody that Mary hired to spy on Will. The only way that would work is if the person taking the pictures at the grave was completely different from the person stalking Vera.
And why would Mary do that?
To have an edge on him, now that to have to be able to utilize him for something. I don't think it's possible because, again, if that were the case, then the person taking the pictures at the gravesite would be a separate person from the stalker stalking Vera, because that makes no sense that it would be the same person. Now Rachel says, we're going to find out it's Murphy, but now she has the picture of all three of them at the grave. What will she demand in return for her silence? It can't be as simple as just wanting her job back. I'm not so, now that we see again the dedication of I really don't see Murphy as being that sophisticated as stalker, but who knows. Now Camille has an interesting idea that actually there were a couple of clues that maybe, we'll talk about it, maybe could hint in that direction, which would be really fascinating. Who knows the most about the freak Vera, Jake, and Will? There could only be one person messing with them all, and how fun of an ending if the stalker is Smiles.
Smiles! Well, we've been wanting her to have more to do, and slowly but surely,
but surely.
Oh my
Yes.
God, I call
She
her
has
Shirley.
been having more.
She has been having a little bit more to do. Her profile has risen a little bit. That is a great idea.
Yep. Not only that, but, and I, again, belong to something else later.
I love that.
When Will has his little outbursts in the dining room, and by little I mean big outbursts, Smiles watches him but doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Which I wonder if that could also, because they've been putting a lot more emphasis on Smiles lately.
They have.
Yes.
And we've noticed that because we've been saying for years, give Jackie Brennan more to do.
So they're finally bringing her more to the fore, and I'm wondering if that's for a reason. Mm-hmm. So that could be interesting. Now, in terms of the consequences, Denise says they're now all accessories to a crime, because Vera and Jake have been to the gravesite. They know this happened. They saw it with their very own eyes. They're accessories. And Dee's wondering if they all go to jail, then who will take over as warden if it is indeed Smiles, and if that could be I'm adding this.
Smiles
that could
would
be another vote.
never take over as warden.
I
She's
just
want to
say, well, no. A couple of episodes ago, and I actually wanted to say something about it, and I ended up not saying anything. When Vera tells them about Ruby's injury, about her aneurysm, she calls in Vera, Will, and Smiles into her office, and she says, as senior staff, you should all know about this. And I had it in my notes. Smiles is senior staff? And so, yes, she actually, and this is another thing, they made a point of saying that as senior staff. Now, maybe they just said that so that we would understand why she would tell Smiles and not somebody else, because Smiles was the one who ended up telling Allie about the aneurysm and stop the fight. But I'm just saying, these little tiny pieces could be coming together.
It's an interesting theory. I like it. I actually like it. I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
So, now, individually, I loved Vera in this episode. I thought she exhibited authority,
strength,
courage, determination. She was a great leader to these two men who followed her, whatever she told them to do.
And she's so loyal.
She's very loyal. She's a good friend, and she was very pragmatic. And tell us what Lauren had to say.
Lauren said, Vera has crossed a line now that she can't go back from. She's involved in this. I think she will try to protect Will because he is her friend. Maybe that will be the key to surviving this. Will and Vera teaming up against Jake, so he can't really do anything against either one of them. It will be interesting to see how they get through this. Now that everyone's dirty secrets are laid out on the table, well, maybe only all of Jake's are out there. Well, Jake has so many.
Yeah. So that's true. Now tell us what Sarah has to say.
Sarah says, Vera declaring that Joan will not win. She will not control them anymore. This is a huge turning point for Will. It wasn't Kaz or Mary who pulled him out of his hell. It's Vera. Beautiful. The minute Joan's image tries to poke holes in Will's trust in Vera, that is the end for her. Will is done being haunted. His trust and faith in Vera are steadfast.
Yes, and I love that
Me
it's his
too.
friendship with Vera and his total confidence in the fact that she would never betray him. That's what ends up saving him. That's what ends up giving him the strength to get rid of Ferguson.
To banish Ferguson's ghost.
I love that.
It was beautiful.
It
was wonderful. And again, it was very true to our people's characters.
Yes. Now, there was... wait a second. Oh, Lauren is asking... I wonder if Will's nightmares will stop now. Now that he knows for certain Joan is dead. But do we know for certain?
Do we know for certain?
Well, Jake used this, knowing where Ferguson is buried, against Will. He already threatened to take Will down if he goes down for Jesper's murder. I don't trust Jake at all. So,
and why should we? It's Jake the snake.
Now,
a snake does not shed its skin without growing the same exact skin.
You got a little messed up there in your little metaphor.
I thought it was pretty good.
Now, Will's, again, a little freak out at the dining room, though, is pitting Mari and Kaz. I mean, now Kaz saw that Kaz had to stop herself. She was trying to figure out if she should go in or not, because, again, showing an alliance with Will would be dangerous to her, and she's angry with him. But Mari swooped right in there. And Kaz saw it. So Kaz knows now, for sure,
that
Mari...
something's up.
Yep. And as Rachel said, that is also another reason for her to hate Mari, but it definitely is pinning them more against each other. But it also means that Kaz knows. And so maybe she will do something about it. She knows. I mean, she suspects, but yes, it was pretty obvious. Now, again, I loved Vera and Will talking, and I think that that's what we need more. On this show.
Who would have ever thought that you would want more talking on a show like this? But we need
substantial
more
talking.
Because
anyway.
First of all, they're in prison. What else can they do? They talk, and that's what they should.
Well,
be
but
doing.
we need people relating, connecting,
to each other,
showing some of their inner
sharing
thoughts,
information.
Yeah.
Yes,
information that's more about who's the butchers or the conquerors getting drugs. Information about our feelings, our experiences. What's happening, people? Now, another triangle, Mari, Drago, and Rita. And this episode, to me, seemed to produce more questions than answers.
Which is okay, as long as the answers get answered. The questions get answered.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying just that it keeps getting more and more complicated. Starting with Lauren.
Okay, Lauren says, it was interesting that Rita would risk her boyfriend over maintaining her cover in prison. She seems very keen to stay in Wentworth. There's got to be more to this story. Why is she so determined to pin Mary by finding out the name of her protector? Surely this indicates that Rita knew something of her sister's involvement in Danny Winter's attack. We know Rita is very protective of Ruby, and that this motivates her above most things to act. She was in serious danger with Mary and Drago, yet begged to stay and get the police what they wanted. Maybe Cherry's killing will make her see how deep into this she has gotten. Pretty chilling, to say the least. Rita seems to have affection for Ray, saying she does want to marry him, but that there's something he doesn't know. Yet, she was ready to risk her life basically to protect her cover. I'm sure there is a conflict in Rita's soul. Maybe she does love Ray, but she's a cop. And she's been daubing on the gang activities for years.
I think there's a lot going on in Rita's soul, which is why I'm saying I want to see more of what's happening inside her. But I don't know about, I definitely don't think she knew about Ruby killing Danny before this.
No.
But I think that, I don't know if she came in knowing that Ruby was in there, but I think that definitely her number one motivation of staying in is to keep an eye on Ruby. No matter what happens, even if she didn't know about Danny, she knows that Ruby can get herself in trouble. Ruby is only there for a short stint, and I think Rita wants to be there.
Let's make sure it stays that way.
And I think she wants to be there as much as she can throughout Ruby's sentence so that she can protect her while she's in there until she leaves.
Protect her from herself, basically.
From herself. And listen, the prison is a dangerous environment. Ruby has a temper. She has a brain injury. She doesn't remember things. And Rita feels guilty and she wants to protect her. So I think that is her number one motivation. As for convicting Mari, I think that now that she knows Ruby killed Danny, she has even more of a reason for wanting to want to convict Mari, because once Ruby's out there, if she knows she knows that Mari's in prison, even though Mari has connections, and it's never a promise that nothing's going to happen to Ruby, but I think it's safer for Ruby when she's out for Mari to be in, because when Mari finds out who killed her son, I mean, heads gonna roll. So,
and who can blame them?
So now, oh yeah. Also, Lauren, you had such a really good email this week. I mean, you always do, but I'm using it a lot today. She says, clearly Mari feels safe enough with Drago being her hench. Maybe Rita is going to have to get rid of Drago somehow for her to be able to gain Mari's trust again. Because it's true, now that she is out of the circle of trust, it's going to be a lot harder for her to...
Oh,
Rachel?
Collecting intel from a distance is close to impossible, so something has to happen for Rita to land back in Mari's good graces. My bet is Rita will use Zara's tendency to use brutal force to fix everything against her. Eventually, Zara's lack of finesse will be the end of her.
Lack of finesse, I like
to
that.
say the least. It's my bet that Zara doesn't make it to season 7, and Rita will either take her place at Mari's side, or she will become Mari's sworn enemy. The battle between these two will take center stage, but not until next season.
Okay. Now, Sarah says, interesting that Rita and Mari were surprised by Zara's actions, killing Cherry. She's Mari's enforcer.
She's a brute.
Why was Mary surprised she beat up the rat? Sure, it may be she's more upset than surprised. Zara clearly acted on her own initiative, but still, isn't that her job? However, Mari is definitely a control freak. Rita could use a rift between Mari and Zara to her advantage. Of course, if Zara goes after Liz, Mari may shut her down herself. Brute force doesn't seem to be Mari's M.O., so Zara's days may be numbered. Now, I have a few things to say about that. I think that she was upset, and I don't know about surprised, because really she shouldn't be, but I think she was upset because she's repeatedly told Drago that she was in prison for a very short stint. She wants to keep a low profile.
Yes.
So Zara is not helping her do that. As for Zara going after Liz, we see in the preview that Mari doesn't tell her who the witness is. She just says, I'll take care of it myself. At least so it seems from the preview. So hopefully Zara will not even know who it is to go after Liz by her own initiative. So
poor Liz.
But I definitely think that this could be a good reason for Mari to pull back from Drago, because she is bad for her in prison anyway. She's a good protector and henchwoman to have on the outside, but in prison she's so far been just putting her more and more at risk of staying in prison longer. Now, Mari and Liz, since we're talking about the subject. So Liz is the witness again. And,
witness X forever.
Now there has been too much talk in this episode about Sophie, for Sophie to not mean something. So.
And we also know that Mari warned Rita that it was smart of her not to say she was her sister, because people use that Ruby was her sister, because people will use that against you.
Exactly. And they have this conversation, Liz and Mari, about kids, and Liz constantly is talking about how close she is to Sophie.
Which, of course, is because of her dementia.
And then, of course, she's sleepwalking, and she confuses Boomer with Sophie, which again drives home the point that, yes, Sophie is so much an important
person. And she's going to tell the kids.
She's going to tell the kids, right. So there are all these things that are trying to, it's like red flashing lights. Sophie's going to be, and of course, that's what we're suspecting, that Mary would go after Sophie because of Liz's, and here's the thing, Liz has dementia. Will anybody believe her when she says what she witnessed? I mean, that's already a problem. And will Mari now take over for Sonia and be the one mind-fucking Liz? Because I do not want to see a repeat of that. So, Rachel says, Mari is a bit too smart to physically go after Liz. She'll plant an alternate story in Liz's head about what happened. Kaz will be put in the position of getting justice for Cherry. She will want to believe Liz about Mari's involvement, but Liz's condition will create doubt amongst the other women. That's one theory. Let's hear what Lauren has to say.
Lauren says, a theory about Liz. With the preview for next week, it looks like Mari is now going to be mind-fucking Liz instead of Sonia. If Mari does have a go at Liz, and Liz ends up in the hospital, I predict that Liz needs an MRI or head scan, and they discover a brain tumor that has been causing all of the dementia symptoms.
I like that.
Yes, we've been talking about that. Thus explaining her rapid descent into confusion. Liz has life-saving surgery and comes back into prison herself. Mari gets off scot-free due to Liz forgetting that she was involved in Cherry's murder. Either that or no one believes Liz apart from Kaz due to her current diagnosis.
Yes, now the other thing that's just to say about what?
I was going to say, I don't know that surgery would cause her to lose her memory, but...
No, I don't know about that part, but I like the idea of that will be what will get them to give her a scan.
I think we've been saying this since the very beginning. Why just assume?
Well,
Give her
yes,
a
but
brain
I like
scan.
that she's saying that's how she'll get the scan, because it doesn't seem like that's something that they're just going to give her if there's no reason, according to them. Whatever happens, watching Liz has been torturous.
And fantastic, though.
And fantastic,
Brilliant.
but torturous, because, again, the only way is down. And
she's so great. I mean, can I just say again
amazing.
how magnificent Celia Ireland is?
Yeah,
playing
that shower scene.
She's always great, but playing this storyline, she is just heart-wrenching and brilliant.
Now, I hope that they find out that it's something else that's curable, but if not, Jen says, I hope she can have some kind of amazing send-off, like sacrificing herself to protect someone or something like that.
Oh,
yeah, I hope it doesn't have to be that way. Because if it is, I mean, she's in season 7, we know that. So if it is,
okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. If it is, it's going to be at the end of season 7, and that means that we have a whole season of watching her like this, which I really don't relish the idea of. Now, quickly to talk about Boomer. She is the only one who actually has a motive for killing Cherry after that dirty fight. She also was seen by everyone in the dining room yelling at her, and Liz was advocating for her. So there is reason for Liz to claim that it was somebody else if it was Boomer. So I think that Boomer will be their first number one suspect. I also wonder if this brain injury is going to lead to something. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, no, that's three brain problems.
Why 3?
Liz's.
Oh. 3.
Ruby's
3 in
and
general.
Boomer's. Yeah.
Well, she definitely hit her head very badly. To me, she would have at least had to have been concussed, but I didn't see her throw up or anything like that. So, and by the way, Morrissey, if I'm pronouncing your name right, you let me know, is saying that she at least enjoyed seeing that Boomer had a new hairdo, the braids.
I love those braids. They were very cute.
They were very cute. Now, Shannon is saying, I saw a post on one of the Wentworth Facebook groups that Boomer might get an early release because Sonia actually spoke to her lawyer about seeing what he could do to get her out. It was an actual article from a TV magazine. I'll let you investigate further, Luron. Well, my only means of investigation is, hey people, do you know anything about that? If you do, let us know.
We work very hard on our investigative journalism.
Well, it's called delegating. But we do know that Katrina is in season 7, so...
we're opinionators, not investigators.
No, we just know how to ask the right people. So now, finally, we have Mari, Ali, and Ruby. Not our favorite triangle, but could have been, should have been. Here's what we know. Mari calls him our Danny when she talks to Ali and tries to get her to get information from Ruby about that night in the bar. Of course, making it more, making it more personal for her. Rita warns Ruby that she shouldn't be with Ali because Mari is still keen on Ali, and that puts Ruby even more in her crosshairs. And Ali tells Ruby that Danny was like a little brother to her. Which is another, again, showing how much she cares, how personal it is to her.
That's one of the few things also we've seen from the past is them, in the
playing
flashbacks.
together. Yeah. Now Mari does tell Allie that she's happy for her and Ruby.
Liar,
Not that
liar,
we
pants
believe
on
her.
fire.
And anyway, she immediately goes on to tell her that Ruby was at the bar when he was done, when he was killed. So of course,
Please find out what you can.
yes. Now, by the way, does anybody know why Mari has been moved to Kaz's old cell? Did we see anything that prompted that? Because I don't remember anything about that. Okay, let's hear what Shannon had to say about this.
Shannon says, I still can't really tell what Mari's motivation is to keep Allie and Ruby apart, even though she tells Allie she's happy for them.
You mean besides the fact that she is hot for Allie and why?
Yeah. I suppose she could want Allie back, but there hasn't been enough evidence in her behavior to support this, aside from picking something off of Allie's face. Well, that's her MO, putting someone's hair behind their ear. That's how she gets to people with physical contact and
especially
generally
around their
faces, because it's very personal
Yeah.
and very intimate. Mari is more about control, as we've seen with her relationships with Will, Rita, and Drago. So it's possible she only cares about that with Allie.
I think that she truly loves Allie.
I do too.
And if nothing else, if she can't have her, she doesn't want anybody else to have her either. But to me, it's true. That relationship should have had a lot more exploration in the season than what we've seen, definitely, so far anyway. Sarah says, Mari starts to lay the groundwork for getting Allie back, though this is clearly a secondary motive, and getting the truth from Ruby about Danny, her number one motivation. This is going to be messy. Continuing on the messy theme, Rachel says, I'm curious to see what happens when Allie discovers Ruby has a girl on the outside. Will that change things between them? I think it will. It will also create another crack for Mari to exploit. The situation is going to get really messy really quickly.
Well, remember also that Allie is already, Ruby brought it up herself, she's a short timer.
Right.
Maybe Allie doesn't want to get involved with a short timer, another relationship.
Well, she has, though.
Yeah, I know.
She has been, because she wanted to help.
Something
she wanted to prevent her from fighting.
I think she really cares about Ruby, but I don't think that she is at all in love with Ruby. I really, 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 really don't. I think she's motivated by the goodness of her heart, and it's nice to have somebody, that you can sleep with. And
now, Diana reminds us, she was watching a documentary about women's prisons, and she reminds us, and I think we've talked about this in the past, that in women's prisons there actually is a lot more girl-on-girl action. And it's actually quite common for women who are straight and have husbands or whatever, while they're in prison, they yearn for human connection, they yearn for touch, and that happens, and there's kind of oftentimes an understanding that it's gay for the stay, and that there's these two women are gay, actually, Allie and Ruby, but that whatever happens in prison has not necessarily has any bearing on what happens in the real world.
I think from what I've seen, especially from Oz, same thing happens in men's prisons.
Yeah.
I mean, you need...
Especially when you're there for 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry?
I was going to say, you have to go with what you got.
Yeah. Now, Lauren says, Alinta Chidsley posted on Instagram that we would be seeing her in prison soon. I wonder if this will be in flashback or whether Shelley will visit Ruby in prison now that Ruby realizes that her punch killed Danny. Maybe she will warn Shelley about Mary. Alinta could have meant in prison like on the show, or it could mean a character actually visits the prison or gets arrested, by the way. That's another possibility.
Yeah.
Not that I think that there's a reason for Shelley to
And she could just be in a flashback.
Right.
Because I know we have friends that talk about, TV shows they've done and tout them very highly, and then it's
1 minute and a half.
Yeah, a minute and a half on screen.
I do want to say, though, regardless of how we feel about some of the characters or some of the relationships, that I was just, I was sitting there, and it was when Rita came in and caught them having sex and then telling Ruby that Mari's still keen on Allie, and it struck me. We have so many central characters who are lesbians, and I'm not just talking about gay for the stay. I'm talking about real lesbians.
Well, Mari isn't a real
Mari
lesbian.
is at least bisexual.
Yes.
I personally think that Mari sleeps with whoever she needs to sleep with to get the job done,
but
she really loves Allie.
Allie.
So to me, she obviously connects with women more. She's willing to sleep with men if it gets her what she needs to get. But
although she exploits women, but
yes, definitely. But I think that in terms of her attraction and in terms of her personal preference, it seems that it's women. Ruby seems to be gay. Allie is gay. Drago seems to be gay. Not that that is an appeal, But there are a lot of really central characters that are just gay, and it's not an issue. It's not a Rita finds out that her sister is gay. Rita. This is all this stuff happens between this. It's just normal, which I love. Just love. Now, just a word about Kaz. No, she didn't have much to do with this episode, but it makes sense. She's had so much to do in previous episodes. Now she needs to take a step back to let other characters shine.
Come to the fore, right?
I did love that Monopoly game with Liz. It was very sweet. I love their togetherness. So that's pretty much it for this episode. We know from the preview
Pretty much it. It's a lot.
Yeah, I know. There's going to be a lot going on about Liz being the witness and Mari having to deal with that. But as we know, the preview chooses to highlight one storyline often, but there's a lot other than that. There's a lot that will happen. I still want to know more about this Ferguson thing. I want to know.
Do you know?
I want to know. What I really want to know is if Vera, Will, and Jake are now convinced that it's her. Beyond me being convinced, I want to know if they're convinced. So we'll see about that. And I like the idea of Smiles as the stalker.
It's a very, very brilliant deduction.
Now, I'm just reminding you, there are 3 episodes to go. If you do want to have a personal vlog or podcast talking Teal with us, then do it sooner rather than later.
Time is running out.
So you can always do it after the fact, but it's, I think, much more exciting to do it in the process. So go to this link and get your personal perk, and start getting ready for the wrap party. Start thinking about your ideas for what you're going to do, your drawings, your poems, your
songs,
your scenes that you're going to act, all these great
dub smashes.
Yes. Start thinking, okay? And if you need to brainstorm with us, feel free. We're just reminding you, no copyrighted material, okay?
Oh, then you can't do a dub smash, right?
A dub smash, I think, because it's very short. It's not, and it's because of a dialogue piece. It's not a problem. But don't use music that's not yours. Don't use, clips from
they
episodes.
will shut us down.
No, we don't do that. So do your own original material, okay? And again, if you're having any questions about that, you can always just email me and we'll clear it up. So, speaking of emails, we're looking forward to your emails for episode 10.
They were fabulous.
I know.
For this episode. Just great. Right on.
LadyPartsVlog@gmail.com. We love hearing from all you newcomers.
Come on, let's hear from you. We need our gent.
We love hearing from all you newcomers, and of course, we love you thank you for the people who write every week. We love you, and we'll see you next week again. Bye-bye.